gist, to laugh, so that you don't get tensed at the end of the discussion. But you have to make it productive as possible. So minimize the people you have in your group discussion to 3, 4, maximum of 5 for me. I think maximum of 5, and make sure that you highlight what you want to do and make sure that you stick to it. Maybe you want to study medicine for 1 hour or surgery for 1 hour. Just make sure that at the end of the group discussion, you can look back and be like, oh, I gained this from this discussion today. I gained that from this discussion today. So most important thing to talk about in achieving excellence in medical school is time management. I got to learn about time management, not just with my book, also with the other activities that I have to do, like washing my plate, cooking. So I got that, I would say that I got that training from medical school. So I have them time that, oh, I will do this in 40 minutes, I'll do this in 20 minutes. So you have to know how to manage your time so that you would be able to devote more time to studying. Because really, I wouldn't say medical school is hard, but you have a lot of things to cover, and there's no two ways around it. You have to devote time to read your book. So you have to cut down all those extra stuff that you waste time on, be it your phone, your social media, and make sure, or your sleep. Sometimes what we waste time on is sleeping. Well, I wouldn't say that we should not sleep, but I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So for time management, that would mean prioritizing tasks and focusing on high-yield activities. Just like I mentioned earlier, I have my to-do list. I have time for them. During exam time mostly, I even set time for my materials. Like, oh, I want to spend just 30 minutes on this material. I want to spend just 40 minutes on this material. So once you are able to manage your time like that, you see that, oh, you are able to cover more grounds. Then avoid procrastination and minimize distraction, most importantly. For me, I thought social media was a distraction. So I had only WhatsApp as my social media, which was mostly because I wanted to keep up with classes, lecture materials, and connect with few friends and family too. So I didn't have Instagram accounts while I was in school. I didn't have Twitter accounts while I was in school. It was not until I finished my final year that I opened my Instagram account, and very recently my Twitter account. But if these things don't distract you, you don't have to delete them if you already have them. But if you feel like, oh, they are distracting you, then you might have to uninstall them. You know what works best for you. So this is just my own experience. But I would say that the only other social media I had was YouTube. And I wouldn't say YouTube wasted my time, but I spent some time on YouTube. But it was mostly because it was the only other way to relieve stress for me. So I watch all those 5-10 minutes memes or jokes, all those comedians, just to take a rest from studying sometimes. So if that is a distraction for you, or any other thing that you might have identified as a distraction, just please work towards minimizing them, just for the meantime. Then set achievable goals in terms of the materials you need to study. So sometimes you want to study this, you want to study that, you want to do this, you want to do that. So sometimes you jam pack your to-do list that you know that, oh, this is not achievable for this day. So I would say that you should make sure that what you write down is what you know that, okay, know how. No matter how busy I get, or no matter how long those lectures or clinical activities can be, I'll still be able to cover these amounts of materials. So you don't have to write 10 materials a day to be studied by you. You can write 3, you can write 4, depending on how fast you read and how much you want to cover. Don't just overwhelm yourself with your to-do list. Set achievable goals so that by the end of the day, when you achieve those goals, you are happy, you are contented that, oh, I've done what I'm supposed to do for the day. Then you have to balance study time with clinical rotation and lectures. Some people feel lectures and clinical rotation waste time, Or for me, I show up for my lectures, I show up for my clinical rotation. And I would say that they help me in a way. Sometimes I understand the concepts of a topic from the classroom, so that when I'm reading it by myself, it's kind of easier. And also, there are some things that I have in my clinical rotation notes, like those jottings that we just write down in clinic. I make sure to read them before exam. Sometimes I don't know if everybody reads them, but me, I make sure to read my clinical notes jottings before exam, because I've noticed that they come out in exams one way or the other, that you wouldn't have seen them in any of the materials that you've studied before. You would just be like, oh, I've heard it in clinic before, and it helped. So you have to balance that study time with your clinical rotation and those things. Your clinics and your lectures, they don't waste time for them. For some people, they don't go for lectures, they don't go for clinical rotation, and they still do well. I don't know how they do it, but from my own experience, I show up for my lectures and clinics, and I still try to balance it with my study time. So before moving to the next topic, the next strategy that I have there, I want to state an important thing, which is the word consistency. You have to be consistent, whatever you do. Let's say you choose to study 5 hours every day. You have to make sure that every day you are studying 5 hours. Just be consistent. I wanted to I'm at that point. Consistency is key in anything that we do. Just show up consistently for every day for the days of your medical school. It doesn't take that much time. I think we are done now, and you can't imagine how happy I am to be done with school. But while in school, I gave it my all, and alhamdulillah, the result was pleasant. So the next topic here is prioritizing mental health. I've been overwhelmed with school before, but alhamdulillah, it wasn't too much to bear. The highest I had done when I was overwhelmed was call a friend and cried to a friend. That was the highest I had done. So some people had issues maintaining their mental health, that they had to resort to visiting a physician because of it. Social, we have to prioritize mental health. And I'm happy that in today's world, this topic is gaining grounds. We see mental health webinar here and there, to talking about it and how you can deal with it. Medical school will continuously test your limits, and as you move through the levels, you have to have a healthy coping strategy to navigate through the storm. Because the storm, I'm not trying to scare anyone, but the storm would surely come. So you have to look for healthy coping strategies. And for me, it was celebrating small wins. Anytime a result is out and I'm pleased with the result, I make sure to take care of myself, be it shawarma, any little thing that you know that makes you happy. Sometimes I take a week off. I leave school, I go to my family house, my parents' house, and I'll make sure that I do Saturday and Sunday I don't study, but I don't do that often. But it's just when I feel overwhelmed to take a break. Then okay. Then you should sleep when you need to. Though I don't have that too, but it doesn't mean that you will not sleep at all. So you have to sleep when you need to, when you feel the rest, and then be sure that once a new day begins, you go back to study and you study harder. Now, so that I won't bore us too many information, I'd like to conclude by saying that. Hello? Okay, so I'd like to conclude by saying that I'd want to reiterate the fact that we have to try our best. We are only trying, And most importantly, we have to trust our Lord to do the rest for us. In essence, I'm saying that you have to be very prayerful. You have to be very prayer. You can't do this alone. You have to do it with the help of the God that you pray to. So be prayerful. Definitely make sure that as much as you're studying, it doesn't affect your 5 daily prayers. That make sure that your studying does not affect your church activities. Then you might also want to invest into mentorship. So you should reach out for guidance. I had guidance when I was in school, and I'm very, very grateful for them. Right from when I was in 100 to 200 level, my formative years in medical school. If not for those people that thought highly of me and were ready to like help me navigate through medical school, and I not achieved what I have achieved. I can't be mentioning names here, but I'm really grateful for those people. So if mentorship is something that you can invest in, you can always reach out. I'm sure a lot of people will be ready to give guidance to medical students, because we've all been there, we've all passed through it, and we know how hard it can get. So I'd like to draw the curtain here. Thank you for having me tonight. I hope that this is useful to some people here, or maybe to all of us here, one way or the other. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much, Ma, for the beautiful lecture. It has been very inspiring minutes to you, from the effective learning strategies to the time management to the consistency, and of course the concept of prioritizing mental health and being very prayerful. These are very, very good tips. Thank you very much for putting together this wonderful advice. So now we'll be entertaining questions and clarifications concerning the lecture. So if you have any questions, you can just type them in the chat box, or you can raise your hand, and then when you are being called, you unmute and then speak. Okay, so Muhammad Thani Dogini, you are raising your hand. A question. You can unmute and ask your question, Muhammad. There's a question. Someone is about to ask a question in the chat box. Yes, you can go ahead and type your questions in the chat box as well. Mohammed Thani, you are still. Is it a mistake? Okay, so Dr. Yakub Zainab, please, we have some questions for you in the chat box. Okay, so the first question here says, please, which lecturers should we prioritize their materials over textbooks, and the other way around for which other lecturers? Okay, so that was the first question. And the second question is, good evening, Ma. Is your success in medical school here dependent on how much you consume stuffs from textbooks and videos, or how much you can retain the lecturer materials? Which is most important? I think the two questions are in a way related. And the third question here is, good evening, how many hours of sleep do you recommend for a medical student? Okay, so if there are any more questions, you can ask. I should just say everything all together. Okay, so another question from Rachel. Please, what can you say about extracurricular activities, and do you think it can be a distraction to students? Okay, I think those raising their hands, you can just type it in the box and then we'll read everything and she can answer your questions. Okay, another question is saying like how many hours of study in a day? And Sharon Lucas is asking if you can be his or her mentor. Okay, Dr. Yakub Zainab, you can go ahead and answer the questions. Thank you.
Okay. So for the first two questions about prioritizing lecturers' materials over textbooks and videos. So we have quite a number of, for me, I prioritized my lecturers' materials. In fact, it was only pharmacology that it was important to get them as hard copy because I rarely use them. It was only if a concept is direct. Reading the textbook, because for me reading the textbook is time consuming, and because I have so many things to cover, I prefer reading my lecturer's material. But I would not negate reading textbooks and find it for the Kaplan video essence pharmacology. So I wouldn't negate reading textbooks or watching videos to understand it. Just make sure that you are balancing it with your lecturer's material. For me, I would say that if you want to read a topic, read your lecturer's material first. If you think you need more information, any extra thing in the video or in the textbook, write it on the material so that the next time you are reading the topic, you are reading only the material and what you might have written down on the material. You are not going back again to read the textbook or to watch the video again. So I would say you should try that so that you don't waste too much time on reading so many things for only one topic while you have so many other things to read. So for the other question, I think I've answered the first two questions about sleep as well. I like sleeping, and I would give a breakdown of the typical way that I sleep. Mostly, let's say I leave my home for classes or clinics by 8 or 9, and if there's any break in between, I go to the library to study, let's say 2 hours, 3 hours, and I'd say maybe I reach my hostel by 5. I would clean, eat, and do all of those things. Rest, pray by 7 p.m. Then after 7 p.m., I sleep from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. That's 3 hours. So from 10 p.m. No, I sleep from, let's say, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's 2 hours. Then 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. is my discussion, mostly another 2 hours. And from 10 p.m. to around 2, 3 a.m. is my study time, mostly, aside from the few hours that I must have studied in the day. So from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Then from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Is another sleeping time for me. So roughly 5 to 6 hours of sleep in a typical day. But that is not how it works every day. Sometimes I sleep longer than that. Sometimes I don't sleep up to that. Or I think 5 to 6 hours is ideal for a medical school, because I'm not saying that you should not sleep. And I'm not here to give you hours of sleep that you must do this or you must do that. I've just spoken about my own experience and how I did mine. So about extracurricular activities, for me, because I'm speaking mostly from my own experience, I didn't invest much in extracurricular activities, but I wouldn't say that is something I'm proud of, because I've seen people that had so many other extracurricular activities and they still did excel in medical school. And I would have wished that I've invested more in extracurricular activities so that at least I'll have more things to add in my CV. Because it's not just about awards and being the best in this or that you have to include in your CVs. In your CVs, in the outside world, you have to have leadership roles or volunteering roles, stuff like that. Make boost your CV. So you have to consider those things. If you want to extracurricular activity, you can, but please balance it with your studying time. If you are using 30 from let's say 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. sometimes till around 5 p.m. And then from 5 p.m. I rest, I sleep. If I want to watch a movie or if there's this, mostly I don't have discussion on weekends, but if there's discussion on weekend, you can make time for that. And then I'll wake up again by 10 p.m. to study by 3 a.m. So you have longer studying hours on weekends for those that do not have other extracurricular activities that you want to do. Because I would be happy to, you can reach out to a medics officials for my contacts or email address, and you can reach out to me. Thank you, Sharon Lucas. So is Kwaso and Unilorin Medical School the same? I can't say. I was in Unilorin and I don't know how they run the system of Kwaso. So I can't, but I think most of our lecturers are the same because I think they're still inviting lecturers from Unilorin to Kwaso. But I can't say. Yes, I can be your mentor, and I would be happy to just reach out to a medics official for my students who does like you can do both, but like I've been saying, you have to balance. It's just about balance. If you have to work during the day, then that means you have to study at night. Just make sure that you're working and studying, because medical school is not something you want to read plenty. So just try and balance your working and your studying. Um, okay, thank you very much, ma, for the present. I need more clarification on balance lecture and clinical. In my school, we have lectures from 8 to 9 every day, and activities from 9 to 1 p.m. Pathology from 2 to 5 p.m. every day. So how do you balance it, ma? Okay. Some clinical activities, if it's not busy, you can be going through your materials, but I'm not sure it's ethical to be looking at your phones while in front of your consultants. So I guess your studying time will be limited whenever you study from 7 p.m. to whenever you can, maybe 7 to 12 to 1 to 2 to 3 a.m. if you can. But you can make something to do with just make out something to do with the literature. Okay, how do you answer management questions during end of posting exams? Also, there's a small booklet known the guide next to the guide, so you record that book for clinical personnel. Yes, the guide is very, very important. I'm sorry I didn't mention it here. Well, for my school, for Unilorin, the guide was very, very instrumental to most people's success in medical school because mostly it's our material that they used for the guide, but in a more simplified way. So, and you can study it very fast, even while you are in clinics. In clinics, you can just open to a page and be looking at it from 1 to 2. Okay, so I'm going to be rounding up now. Maybe some of the other questions can be directed to a medics official, and then you can direct it to me. But especially about this management question, Fasima Asaf, you can message a medics and I'll get back to you on how to answer it because the second speaker is waiting. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yakub, for attempting all the questions. We really appreciate the time. So, in the absence of any question or any other questions for now, we would proceed to introducing our second speaker for tonight, which is Kasali Abdulgafar. Kasali Abdulgafar is a fifth-year medical student and entrepreneur. He is the author of the Winning Scholarship in School ebook, which has several tips on how to secure scholarship as an undergraduate. He is an advocate for academic excellence and personal development, and is currently serving as the regional director one of the academic and quiz board